On Friday, July 19th, Hub Theater Company in Boston starts a new production of Steel Magnolias. It's a comedy drama by a man about strong human connections between women, which many viewers might remember is a popular film. To tell us about the production are its director, Paula Plum, and from Hub Theater, the managing director and co-founder, Lauren Elias. Thank you both very much for being with us.
How are you, Chris?
I'll start with Paula Plum. This is a story, comedy, drama, some funny parts, some sad parts, by a man, and I guess this is based on a real-life experience.
Yes, Robert Harling lost his sister at a very young age to leukemia shortly after she had a baby. That's essentially the story of the play, spoiler alert. But it's essentially about how the women of the community in Chinkopin Parish came together to really help the mother of this young woman, his mother, and the sister go through this, death experience.
Now, as people might guess from Steel Magnolias, this takes place somewhere in the South, maybe Louisiana. A lot of it in a home-based hair salon?
Right. Yes.
That's exactly what it is.
It's a garage that's been turned into a hair salon, so it's very quaint, and very makeshift. But the woman who runs it, Truvi, is a very colorful character, and she has wonderful relationships with all of her clients. So it is a very small, kind of intimate setting.
Lauren, I'm about the choice to do this because this was a movie, I think, in 1989. It seems like a quaint time. Now we hear about the Deep South, abortion rights debates and everything. I mean, how does it feel putting this on at a time like this?
It's ironic how timely it was. It was not our intention at the beginning. We sort of just wanted to celebrate. It's the 30th anniversary of the film, and we thought, let's put the play on to remind people that that's where it all started. But it is so interesting to be putting on a play about women supporting women, particularly even if they don't agree with their choices, but recognizing that the most important thing they can do is not agree, but support each other and be there for one another. It's gotten more and more timely as the days wear on.
Going back to Paula, I mean, you got to mix a character. You mentioned one character. I think she was played by, was it Dolly Parton in the movie?
Dolly Parton played Truvi. Mm-hmm.
I mean, you got this sort of a strong, I'm sure she's a strong woman, but you've got some other people. How do they change over the course of this play?
Their growing acceptance of each other and their idiosyncrasies. I mean, I think they challenge each other in their tastes. There are several different levels of economic status in the play. Two rather wealthy women who are older. Then there are the middle-aged women who are working women, Malin, the mother, and Truvi, the hairdresser. And then there's Annelle, who is played by Lauren, who is sort of archetypally the sort of wanderer who finds herself in the play. And then Shelby, who's the young, in the Virgin Mother Queen Crone archetype, she's the young woman getting married, so she's the mother-to-be.
Lauren, this is a very northern town, and you're playing Southern woman among other Southern women. You got to change something when you get into that, don't you?
A little bit. We actually had our Southern consultant come in, a dear friend of the company, Jamie Shannon. She came in. She was actually a former Miss Mississippi, and she came in and just talked to us about the cultural differences between the South and the North, and the culture shock that she experienced when she moved up here, and just gave us a real 101 on what the differences are. And that was very helpful to us because we are, all six of us in this show, and our director, and we're all mostly born and bred New Englanders. Mm-hmm. So it was very interesting to hear about how different things are outside of New England.
Paul, the other dynamic here is, I know how it's done at barbershops. Hair salons is a different world for me. I mean, how do you make that dynamic work? Because it's so conversational, right?
Well, I mean, that is its raison d'etre is for community and conversation. I think almost the grooming is secondary to the fact that these women seek each other out in the salon for the sake of each other, for friendship and for camaraderie. So that's, you've just named it, that the play is really about that tribal experience of coming together for women.
Well, I guess the other thing that's going on in this play is that in the plot, yes, there is some sadness, and there's a difficult kind of choice. And how these women, I guess, plug into that. Explain a little bit about that.
It's very interesting to watch the main archetype, Shelby, has to make she gets the chance to make a choice whether or not she wants to have a baby or not.
And she has health concerns.
She has health concerns, indeed, and that's the central conflict of the show, spoiler alert. And it's very interesting to watch all of these other 5 women watching her make that choice, seeing what you'd think, and watching them sort of make the choice in their head of what they would do. And it's so fascinating to watch these women and these characters support Shelby, whether or not they agree with her choice. And I think that is something that is so important, critically important to today's society, particularly with women, is that you don't always have to agree with each other. 9 times out of 10, you won't. But what's so important is that we trust each other enough and support each other enough to make the choices that we need to make for our own reasons.
Paula, this isn't a Chekhov play in which somebody gets shot, but there is...
My husband played that role once on stage, and I had to watch him.
3 sisters. But this, you could say, in a way, there is a trauma here, and there's survival that goes on. Talk about the survival dynamic among these women.
Wow, the survival dynamic. Their spirit is what shines through in the play. Truvy has a line: "Laughter through tears is my favorite emotion," and that really encapsulates what saves them, is that they recognize that life is about suffering, but if we have each other, we can laugh.
Lauren, Laughters and Tears, talk about where this is going to be played, because you got a very unusual setting where these performances take place.
We are back at our summer home, Club Cafe at 209 Columbus Avenue, right behind Back Bay Station, which we are so excited to be back there. And it's so fun to be there, particularly for such a show with such a cult following, particularly among that community. It's really great. We are so happy to be back there. It's a nightclub, basically. It's a restaurant. We recommend coming before the show and having dinner and drinks. We're a little funnier when you're drunk. And it's going to be a great time. We love working at Club Cafe. The whole staff is wonderful. And they've even got signature drinks for us this year. So you can come on down and try a Truvy Twister if you're so inclined.
All right. And finally, I know part of your mission is not just to perform, but to make things accessible for people. So anything you want to do to explain that?
Yes, so we are so proud to be the only theater company in Boston that is a pay-what-you-can theater company for every seat, every show, every time. This means we don't set our ticket prices. We let the audience do that, because we know there are plenty of reasons people don't come to the theater as much anymore. They might be sitting home watching Netflix. It might be ridiculously gross out and no one wants to leave the AC. We get it, we do. But we want people to feel welcome and not feel that money is a barrier between art and being an audience member. So we welcome everybody at our shows, whether they can pay 25 cents or whether they can pay $25.
And Lauren, one more detail for getting things online. What's the best way to do that?
Yes, go to our website, www.hubtheaterboston.org, and you can buy tickets and all that good stuff. It'll direct you right through.
Thank you both very much, Lauren Elias and Paula Plum from Hub Theater Company of Boston.
Thank you, Chris.